5D Earth is unfolding all around us, but in order to perceive it, we must turn our attention inward. 5D Earth can only be perceived from the inside out, never from the outside in. What this means is that those whose perception of the world is shaped by external stimuli perceive only the third density world. They can only unfold third density futures. However, those whose perception of the world is shaped by internal stimuli are able to perceive the fifth density world. You are the force acting on the universe, not the other way round, lest you choose it to be so. You are the spark of creation. You are the witness of being. The limitations you encounter are merely the framework of your canvas, the stage and the props of your theatre. It is your prerogative to start painting a new picture on a new canvas. I'm the Bard of Andromeda. This is my canvas. Visions of the Future 2, March 2030. 10 years after global corona lockdown. The old normal. The world never did get back to normal, a truth for which a growing majority of people in March 2030 are profoundly grateful. The old normal, as it is now often sardonically phrased, has become a euphemism for self-absorbed, narcissistic, effete and militantly ignorant. We had to endure 3 to 5 years of excruciating growing pains as the whole rotten edifice of deception we had been living under since time immemorial was stripped away piece by piece, and with growing pace, leaving devastation and ruin where once grandiose and proud paradigms had stood like sentinels of inviolability. Medicine, classical physics, the theory of human evolution, anthropology, archaeology, political theory, global finance, ancient and medieval history, cosmology, orthodox religious beliefs. None of them seem to have escaped a profound upheaval and are undergoing radical revision as the erstwhile custodians of truth and reality are buried forever in a seemingly unending avalanche of scandal, corruption, depravity and horror, the depths of which few yet have the stomach to come to terms with, let alone explore to any significant degree. Yet, amidst all the psychic and psychological devastation, in the wake of the all-consuming forest fire of truth, human beings are starting to wake up to the realization of something they thought they had lost forever: their innocence. For what else could you call it? How else could you describe an entire species so abjectly duped into partaking of the dark tyranny of mass self-imposed house arrest? How else could you rationalize the gaslighting of billions of healthy individuals into treating each other as toxic biohazards, or the robbing of an entire generation of children of their education and freedom on the basis of highly questionable data in exchange for assurances of safety from known embezzlers, con merchants, and child molesters? How else could you justify the abuse, degradation and assault of dear friends, family and loved ones who had dared to take a position contrary to that of the authorities, the enthusiastic sponsorship in thought, word and deed of the biggest act of mass terrorism, cult behaviour and mind control in the whole of human history? You could call it evil on the part of the conscious perpetrators and their mealy-mouthed media mouthpieces, and people do in March 2030. You could call it jaw-dropping stupidity on the platoons of complicit, highly educated professionals and their vast, uncountable armies of the rest of us sycophantic toadies and hangers-on. But, as many of us are now realizing, to be guilty of jaw-dropping stupidity, or gullibility, or naivety, or any of a number of other words we might use, necessitates a certain undeniable innocence. Most everyone, of course, protested their innocence in those early years that followed the pandemic debacle of 2020, and how the maligned and disdained few who had been wise to the whole affair jeered and expostulated. "How dare you call yourselves innocent?" the conspiracists cried. "Don't you have any idea what you've done?" But really all of this played out because of a collective ignorance we had been seduced into cherishing in the preceding decades. Divided, distracted and disinformed by a tiny kernel of truly guilty and malevolent individuals, we acted out of ignorance, and as all of the devastating hidden truths started to come to light, we knew this to be the case. And what is innocence but a prettier and more endearing species of ignorance? In March 2030, amidst all the ongoing revelations about the universe in which we live that continue to blow our minds on seemingly a weekly basis, we are steadily coming round to the healing notion that the events of a decade previously, and indeed all the other revelations of heinous and demonic perversions that ensued, point to an innocence human beings never realized was still ours. The innocence of a very young, or perhaps very traumatized, species which, far from being at the dizzying apex of its evolution and achievement, had barely taken its first faltering steps into a far bigger universe. This is a vision the Bard of Andromeda has chosen to share with the world at this time. Who among you would greet me there?